Welcome back to the channel of Truth, Trust, and Transparency. Today, I'm answering another one of your questions. Now, to be completely honest with you guys, I did this Q&A over on the Everything Property page, Instagram page. I said, we're going to do a Q&A this week. What are some of the questions that you guys want answered? And I got a really interesting one from Benjamin Trenko, and I'm going to read it out to you. And I thought I'm going to actually take this for my YouTube account. I'm going to put together a quick little video on a strategy I'm really enjoying at the moment. Don't have to get your hands dirty. It is a way to increase substantially the value and the rent of a property, hundreds of thousands of dollars in value, and a lot of money in terms of rent per week. I'm going to run you through it, not reinventing the wheel, not trying to get complicated. Apologies, probably a little bit of a clickbaity title, but that's how sort of YouTube plays the game. So without further ado, let me jump into this one for you, Ben, and for anyone else watching that wants it. But the question was, what is the best residential cash flow investment properties to target to keep building a portfolio? Now, like anything, this is not financial advice. I'm not a broker. I'm not an accountant. I don't have an AFSL, and I am not qualified or licensed to give you financial advice. However, I'm going to show you a strategy that I know that works, that I know plenty of our members of our property investment course are also using to get ahead, to generate equity a lot quicker than just having to buy, wait, and hold, and not get their hands dirty and still maintain ownership of the asset. Without further ado, let me jump into it and I'll show you guys what I mean. Okay, so I'm on the platform H-Tag. This is one of the platforms that I use for property data and analytics. It is probably the best going around there. Love the interface, very easy to use and all that kind of stuff. Now, I'll show you through, and I'm in a suburb called Chirnside Park in Victoria. Churn is spelled Chirnside Park, Victoria. Now, all disclosure, I'm not saying that this is the best suburb in the world. I'm not saying you need to invest here, but all I did was chuck a couple of filters in H-Tag to get to sort of a decent result where I can show you where this particular strategy works. Now, Chirnside Park, Victoria. What you'll notice here when I go in H-Tag shows the typical price for each bedroom of the house. So for example, and if I click this drop down menu, I can see that 3 bedrooms sell on average for $818,000. What is really cool is that 4 bedrooms in the same suburb are selling for $300,000 more. $300,000 more. Now, not only is it, and this is where the strategy comes into play, it is targeting areas like this. Once you establish a budget, once you establish, what you're looking for from a property site, what is the strategy for that property? And obviously, if we're doing any sort of work and we're buying, we're holding for, a duration of time. But this is an example where, look, for an $800,000 3-bedroom purchase, we see 4 bedrooms are valued at $300,000 more. Okay, that's really interesting. Now, another part of this data that I want to show you guys, and don't get me wrong, in looking through the data, it's actually pretty decent. If I look at I just haven't checked the growth rate cycle, a little bit up, a little bit down, but very substantial growth. 8 URSAD, 15% owner to ratio, days on market, short term. There's not too bad things, but one of the main things that we want to check and have a look at here is the demand profile. As you will see here, 3 bedrooms and 4 bedrooms, if we take out the semi-detached section of it and we look at houses, 3 and 4 bedroom houses are in demand just as much. So as many people looking for 3 bedroom as there are 4 bedrooms. And there is about a $300,000 difference. So what's the strategy? The strategy is to buy a 3-bedroom house in this suburb. Remember, all the other data points need to line up, but looking at that sort of 3 to 4 bed arbitrage. Same can happen 2 to 3, usually 3 to 4, there is a bigger jump. The beauty about this, look at these fucking numbers, guys. $300,000 difference. So if I can find a 3-bedroom that has a workable floor plate. I can convert it to a 4-bedroom, provided there are no ramifications with councils and approvals and those sorts of things. Typically under the same roof, not building in and adding another. I'm just converting off a room, second dining room. I've shown on my channel before how people have done this in our course. Second dining room into a 4th bedroom. I can potentially get early access to do this work before I've even settled on it. So after I settle, I can wait a couple of months. I can get that property revalued as a 4-bedder. The best part is that I can also get an additional $550 per week rent for a 3-bedroom. 4 bedrooms rent for $700 per week. So Ben, to answer your question, this is as easy as it is. And hopefully you guys can see that. But if I'm buying something, right, for $800, if I'm buying something and doing this, $700 a week, times it by 52, that's 36 grand a year. Now, if the purchase price is $820, that is a yield of 4.4%. So it is a lot better than if I'm only getting, say, $550 a week, times it by 52, divide that by 820. There's a 3.4% rental yield. So it's a really good way to add a lot more rental yield. And that is at the time of purchasing. Do not forget, and when you first buy property, that's when it is hardest to own. However, over time, the rent starts to increase. The debt's remaining the same. The rent starts to increase. That is how quickly that can jump up. Imagine how long it's going to take for you to own a 3-bedroom and it to go from $550 to $700. That is going to take a lot of time, years and years and years for that to happen. Whereas something like this is where it can work. Now, what you do next is that you would take a suburb like Chirnside Park, and then I go into sold, and I see if there's any opportunities where this has happened, which I have taken the liberty of doing for you guys. And look at this. Look at this. 1 Lancaster Place, Chirnside Park, Victoria. 3-bed, 1 bath, 2 car on 930 square meters, $825,000. Right? It appears to be in and around there. Look at the floor plan. What do you notice here? Bedroom 1, bedroom 2, bedroom 3. Now, the best thing about this is that we have a few options. 3 bedrooms, all very well sized. We also have a study with an external door. So 3.5 by 3.3, that can easily be converted to a bedroom, right? Or we could even potentially explore, is there a way? This bedroom here it looks like 2 doors. If we close this up, we can make this a massive master. We could even put in an ensuite, right? Then we make this the front door. So that way we have an entry, mudroom, and we have family and meals. We still have the right space. Kitchen, meals, I can put my lounge there, perfect. And I can have a nice size 4-bedroom. Could even put a study, could have put a bar, you could have plenty of other things in this area. That is the opportunity. That is an example of a floor plate where it works. Now, it won't happen all the time, and it works the best in the most established areas. Why? Because the houses are older and they're just bigger in nature. A lot of the new houses where it's on 300-400 square meter blocks, relatively new, the last 5 to 10 years, you don't have these opportunities. But these houses, when they get older, that's where the opportunity lies. We had a guy in our course that has done the exact same thing as this, and it is a way where you can come in and add that 300 grand. Now, the cost to convert all this, let's take the ensuite out of this, but the cost to convert that, we're talking probably less than $5,000 to put up a little stud wall, to close in that door, change it to it. That is less than $5,000. $5,000 spend, $300,000 increase in value, $150 increase in rent. This is the most underrated play, Ben, for you and for anyone that watches this video. that's a really good play to increase cash flow for your investment properties to keep building your portfolio. The next is going to be you need to talk to your broker and you need to plan it out. How many properties do I need? What does the yield need to get to? What sort of size deposit can I put down? Those are the questions you need to ask your broker, and they will give you parameters to, hey, all right, to get to 4, to get to 5, to get to 6, this is what we need to look at. The yield probably needs to start in around the 4.5 to 5s, depending on that size of the deposit. So good example here is a way that we can do that. And don't get me wrong, this is just one example in one suburb, but there might be opportunities where you can find something, and if 800,000 or 820 is the typical price for a 3-bedroom, maybe you can find something 775 or 770, and then find it. Then we might do a minor cosmetic renovation throughout, painting, all those sorts of little light fixtures, those little things. Then we get it rented for 770. It's a 5.2% rental yield. That is the play, and that is the quickest way to do it. The best way with something like this too, you can coordinate trades so you don't even have to get your hands dirty or do anything yourself. But Ben, hoping that this provides some value to you and anyone else that has watched it. Any more questions, thoughts, feelings, emotions, let me know in the comments.